Hi everyone, I'm John C. Morley, the host of the JMOR Tech Talk Show and Inspirations for Your Life. Well there, hello everyone, and it's time for the JMOR Tech Talk Show because today is Friday. It's July 31st, 2026. If this is your very first time here, I want to take the opportunity to say thank you, and I want to say the words welcome. You are very welcome here. If you've been here one time, 5 times, 100, or maybe even more, or lost track of the count, I want to say thank you and welcome, but I also want to say the words welcome back. Yes, it is so great to have everybody here, and I thank you for deciding to tune in. Lots of great information here about technology, things that we need to be aware of, things that maybe we're not aware of. But I think sometimes, guys, people don't realize, what is really going on. And I think the fact is when people understand that, you can make a difference in life, right? But it might not necessarily be tomorrow, but every step gets you there, right? So I can tell you that technology is definitely changing a lot. All right. And I know a lot of you out there saying, well, it's not changing that much. It is changing a lot, guys. It is changing a lot. And I think that's something a lot of people they just don't get it. And I don't know why, but they just don't get it. So if you guys are thirsty, if you're hungry, feel free to go grab yourself something. I have an RO water here, which is absolutely delicious and nice and cold. All right. So if you have not checked out believemeachieve.com, go ahead and do that after the show is over. Not now, but after the show is over. And you can get my short form content, get my long form content, get articles, reels, and so much more. All right, guys, let's kick this show off. This is the JMOR Tech Talk Show, in case you were wondering. The tech stories everyone will be talking about. Series 5, show number 32, guys. Yes. And welcome to the JMOR Tech Talk Show. I'm John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur, engineer, marketing specialist, video producer, podcast host, coach, graduate student at Montclair State University, a passionate lifelong learner, and now so grateful to be a published author. Ladies and gentlemen, technology never slows down, and neither do the conversations surrounding it. This week, I'm covering 14 stories that could influence privacy, cybersecurity, AI, artificial intelligence, robotics, business, and our everyday lives. Let's dive into the tech stories everyone will be talking about. All right. Our first one is an entire city was recently just suddenly put on hold. One drone alert was enough to disrupt business, transportation, at a major sporting event. It reminds us that today's technology doesn't always need to cause damage to create major disruption. Sometimes uncertainty alone changes everything. And as drones become more capable, and they are becoming that, governments and businesses must rethink security, emergency response, and public safety before the next incident occurs. And I know a lot of you are saying, well, John, there's not much going on. I'm here to tell you that there is a lot going on, guys, a lot, for an entire city to just be suddenly put on hold. This is what modern warfare looks like. It doesn't just target soldiers anymore. It can disrupt shopping, jobs, transportation, and everyday life in the flash of an eye, an instant. Could this become the new normal? That's a question a lot of inquiring minds are asking. When technology changes the way we operate or our scope, it gets some people fearful because the unknown is what scares people, right? False evidence appearing real. They don't know what to do. I think that's an important thing to understand, that it's about that whole concept. a concept that can literally change the trajectory of what something's going to do or not do. Number two, guys, TikTok, well, seriously, could be facing its biggest fine ever. European Union regulators believe TikTok may not be doing enough to protect children from cyberbullying and online predators. If true, the company could face an enormous financial penalty. The bigger conversation is whether social media companies should be responsible for protecting users by design instead of reacting after problems occur. Now, we talked about two things, guys. We talked about being proactive and we talked about being reactive. And I think that's important to know. We want to be more proactive. It's easier, it's cheaper, it's even safer because we planned ahead for something, hopefully that never happens. Okay. And that's key, guys. All right. That's the key. But some people don't understand that. They don't understand like why or even how that works. All right. That's a big challenge for a lot of people. You know, one day you could wake up and something is completely different. Right. And we'll learn about some of those on the show today. A norm that you expected to be a certain way suddenly has changed the way it operates. It's like saying that physics changes overnight. It doesn't. We know that physics stays the same way over time. But let's just suppose that something in physics changed in a different way than we knew. And that would cause us to look at it differently. It would cause us to open our eyes and say, wait a minute, how did that even happen, right? We're not saying that it can't happen. We're saying, let's be sure that it happened because chances are it probably didn't happen at all. But it's going to cause lots of confusion, lots of frustration for people because what they once saw as the sky being blue could now be the sky being green. I'm being facetious, but you get my point, right? What we know to be true, a fact, suddenly is challenged or changed right before our very eyes. Suppose I told you, and this isn't true, suppose I told you that gravity can be turned off by drinking 6 glasses of water. It can't. But just suppose that it could. Everybody would be drinking 6, 7 glasses of water. I'm like, okay, I want to experience, weightlessness. I was recently reading an article not too long ago where somebody was in like one of these, almost like an attraction, looked like a space type of thing. And it was pretty slow. It wasn't fast, but the motion, the way it would go down and it would go side to side, it wasn't fast. It could get some people sick. So I think these are the things that a lot of people, they need to understand. So that's a key, guys. Number 3, did you know the U.S. is now cracking down on cyber criminals? Yep. The United States is expanding its fight against cybercrime with visa restrictions, targeting suspected hackers, and in some situations, their associates. Cybersecurity is no longer just about firewalls anymore. Governments are using new strategies to discourage digital crime before it spreads even further. That's what they're trying to do. But what's really happening, I guess is the question. What's really happening? So with the U.S. cracking down on this, getting caught hacking may no longer mean criminal charges anymore. The U.S. has announced a brand new policy that can deny visas to cyber criminals and even people accused of helping them, like their family and friends. In some cases, immediate family members could also face visa restrictions. Is this a powerful way to fight cybercrime, or does it go too far? What's your take on it? Because you see, we're going to revoke somebody's visa because of someone else's actions. I mean, how can we make a whole family responsible for someone else? I think people got to be accountable for themselves, right? They can't just expect their next of kin or their whole family to be responsible. That doesn't sound accountable. It just sounds like going for a weak link. I think that's going to aggravate a lot of people, unfortunately. I get why they want to do it. I absolutely get why they want to do it. But I'm here to tell you that doing this is not only going to frustrate people, it may cause retaliation. And it may also change things about how our world operates. Okay. That's important to understand. I think sometimes people they just don't understand. They don't know what's going on. And I think it's important to share, what's happening, why we're doing things, and, and how that's happening. Right? What goes through your head when I say that? Just think about that for a minute. Right? What's going through your mind right at the moment? What does it mean? What does that mean to you? What does that actually mean? What does it mean? Does it mean something interesting? Does it mean something confusing? What does it mean to you? What does it mean to you? I think that's an important thing that a lot of people they just don't get it. They don't understand it. And that's hard, guys. That's hard. It's hard because people are expecting something to be different. Something to be different about who they are. And that difference might affect where you're going in life, right? It may. It may affect that. And then again, guys, it may not. But one thing it does, it gets us to be curious about things. And by being curious, I think that's something that a lot of people just don't really understand. Right? They don't really understand that. And hopefully that means something to you. But I think it's going to cause problems for a lot of people because of the way things are moving forward. Number 4, this machine could change soccer forever. What is it? An AI-powered soccer training equipment device that can now deliver customized drills with incredible consistency, helping athletes practice more efficiently. Technology is becoming a valuable training partner, but it still cannot replace teamwork, leadership, and the human side of sports. I think that's important to think about. Number 5, guys, Congress wants an AI kill switch. Congress wants an AI kill switch. And that seems like something really crazy, right? Something really, really crazy. And I think that's important, guys, because if we can understand something, we can change where things go, right? If we can do that. If we can't, then we can't, right? Maybe. But then again, maybe not. So how do we approach this? Well, lawmakers are right now discussing whether advanced AI systems should have emergency shutdown capabilities if they become too dangerous. Finding the balance between innovation and public safety may become one of the biggest technology debates of this decade. ever. Number 6, Amazon is labeling AI images now. Yeah. Amazon is requiring sellers to identify advertisements that use AI generated people instead of real models. As artificial intelligence becomes harder to detect, transparency may become one of the most valuable forms of consumer trust. Trust. Something that a lot of people take for granted, but we can't. We can't take it for granted, guys. We cannot take it for granted. That's a big thing. All right. We cannot take it for granted. Number 7, Apple just hit the brakes on smart glasses. Apple's reported delay isn't about hardware. It's about privacy. Questions surrounding cameras and recording features remain difficult to solve right now. The companies that earn the most trust may ultimately lead the wearable technology market. I think that's a very important thing to understand, right? Apple's smart glasses basically are going for, let's say, a little bit of a change. Delayed technology. It's all because of privacy. Apple's rethinking everything about cameras and recording. Is convenience, guys, worth giving up more privacy? That's the question we're asking millions of Americans. Is it? Or is it not? Have you thought about technology? Have you thought about whether something has convenience or not? And if it doesn't have convenience, do you use it? Or I should say, if it does, do you still have the choice, a desire to use it because it's making your life easier? Take artificial intelligence, for example, right? If you don't lock down things properly, your information could be exposed. It could be exposed. Number 8, Meta is finally cracking down on creepy smart glasses. Meta is increasing enforcement against people secretly recording strangers with smart glasses while also strengthening recording indicators. So they're even blocking the camera now. If you decide to hire somebody or you decide to reverse engineer the little LED by dremeling it or what have you, once you make the LED inactive, well, the camera will no longer function. Powerful technology always brings responsibility, and wearable devices will continue raising important questions about privacy concerns. And I know that sounds hard for people, but I want to tell you it is completely the truth, guys. It's the truth. It's the truth. Imagine this, guys. A robot that can dress you in just 10 seconds. Now, not a typical robot. Researchers are now developing robotic clothing that helps people dress themselves automatically within seconds. Beyond convenience, right? This technology could improve independence for seniors, people with disabilities, and emergency responders. I think those are interesting things to think about, right? They're very interesting to think about. And I think it's something important to talk about, right? How this is going to work, how this whole process is going to work. I think sometimes, guys, it causes people to kind of do like I'm going to say a 360 or actually a 180, because 360 would be, starting where we are, but a 180. A 180. I think that's something that's pretty wild. So a robot that can basically dress you in 10 seconds. So it uses basically air technology, and basically they call it a robot in its sense, but not directly as we would think of a robot. So it's kind of like implied. It makes it like a few seconds to just put on a shirt or basically pants, and it basically causes it to contour with the body in just seconds. Number 10, guys. Your next iPhone could cost more than you expected. Artificial intelligence Investments continue driving up technology. Unfortunately, all the costs across the industry are rising too. Consumers now face an important question. Will future AI features deliver enough value to justify higher prices? Did China just outsmart USAI? New reports suggest the global AI race remains extremely competitive, despite many of the export restrictions that are present. AI, or artificial intelligence, has become far more than just a technology competition. It's now a race involving economics, research, innovation, and national security. But a lot of people are looking at AI as like the magic bullet. But I have to tell you, it's not the magic bullet. No, it's not the magic bullet. Because a lot of times people expect something to work a certain way, but then it doesn't work that way. And then people are all annoyed that it didn't work the way it was supposed to work. AI is a constantly morphing field. AI makes lots of mistakes. Is AI getting better? Yes. Is it perfect? No. So there's a truth that we have to understand. As we understand that truth, then we can move forward and say, okay, this is what we need to do, or this is what we don't need to do. I think that's an important piece that many people just don't understand. They think that if we just sweep it under the carpet, it'll just go away. That's what they think. And I know a lot of you out there have had these people, they call and say, oh, I'm certified in AI. So I just ask these people, what kind of degree do you have? Oh, I took a 90-minute course online. And suddenly they're an AI expert. And I laugh a little bit. And they use some mainstream AI things and they charge you a fee and they just connect things and then it doesn't really work. And they're like, well, we'll keep working on it because they're not really building anything. They're just using stuff on the market. I think that's hard for a lot of people to realize that AI is a morphing, growing technology. And the reason it morphs is because it changes as we grow. It changes as we go. And sometimes the way AI is operating will seem perfectly normal and helpful. But at the end of the day, it's not. It's not. That's the most important thing that I can tell you. That's probably the most important thing that I can tell you. And maybe you don't agree with how AI is functioning today. Again, I already told you it's not perfect. But some people think that AI can be trusted so much, and it can't. It can't. That's a big problem. And then you're saying to me, John, well, I did this and I did this, but suddenly it doesn't work the way I expect it to. Right? It doesn't work the way I expect it to. And that means you've got to rethink it, right? You've got to rethink it. You've got to rethink it. And that causes people to get confused, right? It causes people to get confused. And that might cause you to be concerned, right? Because maybe you don't believe what's happening, right? Maybe you don't believe it. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. That's hard for a lot of people to understand. It's hard for people to understand like why things are happening a certain way. But how do you move forward? It's hard because AI right now is never going to be perfect. And as we traverse through it and it gives us wrong answers, we have to double check to make sure that we don't take AI's output as perfect. It usually never is. Number 12, guys. Trump just escalated the tech war. Growing disagreements between the United States and Europe over technology companies could lead to additional tariffs and increased trade tensions. So, as governments compete over regulation and innovation, consumers and businesses often feel the economic effects first. That's the important thing. Number 13, the quiet AI founder. Everyone is watching. Who is it? Well, many AI leaders constantly appear in the headlines. DeepSeek's founder has remained remarkably quiet while reportedly focusing almost entirely on development. Sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, the biggest breakthroughs come from the companies making the least noise. China's AI robot workers are here. Okay? China continues deploying AI-powered collaborative robots designed to work alongside human employees. The future workplace may not replace people, guys, completely, but it will almost certainly require humans and intelligent machines to work together, cobots, etc., right? More closely than they ever did before. And I think this is something that scares a lot of people, right? Why? Because it's different. It's different. Different doesn't mean it's wrong. Different means it's not what we expect. So when we think about artificial intelligence and we think about, the government's kill switch. So let's go back to, 'cause I think that's kind of important. So what does, the government want in an AI kill switch? Well, they're concerned. And the co-chair of one of the parties who is on AI is joined by other people from the other party. And they want legislation that authorize the government to shut down or throttle risky AI models. So there have been other people without mentioning their names. The AI Kill Switch Act gives the US government powers to do just that, a common sense action that Americans overwhelmingly support. More work is needed to address the risk of human extinction posed by superintelligent AI. And this is a great step in the right direction. But it's not an immediate solution. Okay. It's a step in the right direction, but it's definitely not immediate. So we're taking this from basically cybersecurity to something called constitutional power. And why Washington's latest AI proposal is less about shutting down algorithms and more about redefining who governs strategic computation. So nearly 3 years, policymakers debated artificial intelligence primarily through the lenses of innovation, economic competitiveness, privacy, and ethics. The new introduced AI Kill Switch Act signals that the conversation has entered an entirely different phase. The legislation proposes granting the U.S. Department of Homeland Security emergency authority to order the throttling, suspension, or shutdown of frontier AI systems under defined catastrophic scenarios. Another public discussion has focused on the phrase we say, kill switch. The proposal's true significance lies elsewhere. The institutionalization of emergency executive authority over privately developed computational infrastructure. Who possesses sovereign authority once an AI system escapes ordinary governance? The question shifts regulation from the preventive oversight toward emergency commands. That's pretty powerful, guys. That question shifts regulation from preventive oversight toward emergency commands. And this is the same institutional transition previously observed in cybersecurity. Cybersecurity policy initially emphasized standards and voluntary best practices. Only after cyber operations became recognized as national security threats was when the government established emergency authorities. So the political meaning of loss of control, the proposed legislation authorizes intervention under the loss of control scenario involving catastrophic risks to human life or the economy. Public reporting indicates the DHS, Department of Homeland Security, could require covered developers to slow, suspend, or terminate operation of qualifying frontier models after consultation with other federal officials. The proposal also requires technical shutdown capabilities and mandatory incidents requiring resetting for covered developers. Technically, this resembles cybersecurity incident response. Politically, however, it creates something much larger. Historically, emergency powers have always expanded governmental authority over privately owned strategic assets. Examples include wartime, industrial production, emergency financial interventions, aviation security, nuclear regulation, telecommunications controls. The AI Kill Switch Act effectively introduces strategic computation into the historical category, something we've never, ever had before. So AI is now becoming more than just software, hardware. It's becoming infrastructure. And one of the most significant but least discussed elements of the proposal is what it implies about the government's perception of AI. Governments rarely create emergency shutdown authorities unless they already believe a technology has become indispensable to national stability. Electricity, financial networks, satellite communications, civil aviation, large AI models. And this reflects an important conceptual shift. AI is no longer merely an innovation sector. It's becoming infrastructure. That's important, guys. Infrastructure requires resilience, continuity, redundancy, mandatory reporting, emergency authority, international coordination. Right? That's important. So when we think about that, we can think about what that means. And a lot of people will be like, I don't quite get it. I don't quite understand it. But the more people wrestle with this this concept, I should say, it causes people to think differently. Right? So there's something called the CIA triad, the Foundation of Information Security. And whether it protects a single laptop at home or international enterprise, it's built upon three fundamental principles: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Let me say that again. Confidentiality, integrity, and accountability. Understanding a framework can help us to make changes, can help us to understand what's going on in our world. So the game of AI is becoming something tied to politics, but it's much more than that. It's much more than that. I think that's an important thing, right? How? I think it happens to people that don't really understand. And these questions that we have are either going to cause us to ask more questions, or they're going to cause us to change our perspective, our position, our thought pattern. But because it's being tied so closely, the water's really good and cold. Because of that, it's making people think just a little bit. Is this the right way? Am I doing something wrong? Right? What does this all mean to me? What does it mean to other people? I think that's really the question at the end of the day. If we implement this, who has the power to pull the plug on it? And how do we follow the procedure to make sure it doesn't get pulled prematurely? How? That's a problem, guys. So this is no longer about politics, but unfortunately, AI has been made to be about politics so many times, guys. So many times. Whether we're talking about China trying to outsmart the US in AI, the escalation of the tech war, or maybe even the concept of how a whole country can just be stopped because of a technology that's getting abused. That makes me think, guys. This makes me think, what are we doing? So when will the AI switch bill pass? Well, it's only before, the Senate and the Congress. It's not passed yet. They can't just pass something because somebody thinks it's a good idea. They've really got to do due diligence and make sure this is going to be good for the greater good of all concerned. So the AI Kill Switch Act, HR 9917, was introduced in the House on July 23rd, 2026, not too long ago, by Representatives Ted Lieu, Democrat of California, and Nathaniel Moran, a Republican from Texas. And it's been referred to the House Committee on Homeland Security, which is an early stage in a legislative process. So let's talk about how this bill could become law if it does become law. All right. Number one, for it to become law, it would still need to pass the House Committee. It would have to pass the full House, pass the Senate, which could amend it, be reconciled if the House and Senate versions differ, and then be signed and ratified by the President of the United States. Because it's only at the committee stage, there's no scheduled vote on anything or the final passage of it. Short term, next few weeks, it's unlikely to become a law. This year, possible, but far from certain that'll happen. More likely outcome, it may be amended, merged into broader AI safety legislation, or significantly rewritten before any final vote. Recent bipartisan interest in AI safety, or significantly rewritten before any final vote. Recent bipartisan interest in AI safety means the ideas could survive, even if this exact bill does not. So at this point, I would view the AI kill switch bill act as an active proposal rather than an imminent law. Congress is clearly signaling increased concern about frontier AI. But there are still many concerns and legislative hurdles before the bill could ever go into effect. Putting something into law is not a 5-minute process. Okay. I mean, yes, there is a process. And if everything is done correctly, there's a good shot it could go into law, but not just right away. So the bill is getting a lot of attention, and it's about far more than simply adding an off switch to AI. The proposed AI kill switch would require developers of most advanced AI systems to maintain the technically an ability to slow, suspend, or completely shut down their models, like immediately, like that. The Department of Homeland Security, in consultation with the Department of Commerce and the Director of National Intelligence, wants to order action in certain situations. That's where they're trying to go with this. Okay. The proposal was introduced shortly after reports of serious AI security incident happened involving advanced OpenAI models during testing. Supporters argue that as AI systems become more autonomous and capable of taking action rather than simply answering questions, government and industries need a way to intervene if something goes seriously wrong. How do we pull the plug? Yeah. So the bill generally targets only the largest frontier AI developers, according to the proposal right now. It would apply to companies with at least 500 million in annual AI revenue or models trained with roughly 100 million worth of computing resources. Small AI startups and ordinary software developers would generally not fall under these requirements. If the bill is enacted, companies would need to build and maintain technical shutdown or throttling capabilities, which I'm sure they're going to want to do. Report qualifying AI safety incidents. Preserve forensic records to help investigators understand what happened after an incident. Comply with emergency government shutdown orders when legally issued. If they do not, they could be subject to fines. Yeah. So the proposal has generated significant debate. Supporters say every powerful technology has emergency controls. Airplanes have emergency procedures. Nuclear facilities have multiple safety systems. Electrical grids have disconnect mechanisms. They argue frontier AI should not be the first transformative technology without an emergency intervention capability. Several AI safety organizations have endorsed the concept, but that doesn't mean, guys, that it's passing as a bill tomorrow. No. So critics raise different concerns. Some worry the proposal gives too much authority to executive branch of government to decide when an AI system should be slowed or shut down. Others question whether a centralized kill switch could itself become a cybersecurity target or whether this is the right thing, because it suggests that Congress increasingly views frontier AI similarly to other strategic technologies that require special oversight. Whether this specific bill becomes law is still up in the air. Most bills introduced in Congress do not become law in their original form. Even if the AI Kill Switch Act itself does not pass, many observers expect its core concepts, such as mandatory safety controls, incident reporting, and emergency intervention authority, to reappear in future AI legislation. So this is not going away tomorrow, guys. Not going away tomorrow, but it's not going to happen tomorrow either. This is like the first trip. This is an introduction, guys. A lot of people are still wondering, what the heck is AI? And what do we have to fear about AI? Like we said, what if something goes wrong with AI? How do we make sure things don't go haywire? First, the bill is intentionally narrow. It's not aimed at ChatGPT users, small AI startups, or companies building ordinary AI applications. It targets only the largest frontier AI developers whose systems reach extremely high capability thresholds. Congress is trying to regulate what lawmakers consider the most powerful models. Not everyday AI tools will be required under this umbrella. Second, the proposal defines specific situations where emergency action could be taken. These include scenarios involving catastrophic harm, a loss of control over an AI system, or an AI attempting to disable its own shutdown mechanisms. The Department of Homeland Security would not act alone. The bill requires consultation with the Secretary of Commerce and the Director of National Intelligence before ordering a shutdown or throttling of qualifying models. So, guys, this is a very, very interesting thing, and I think it's going to get a lot more press as we move forward, but not tomorrow. Okay. An interesting aspect is the size of the proposed penalties. Companies that fail to maintain the required shutdown capability could face fines up to $2 billion per day, while companies that ignore an emergency shutdown order could face penalties of up to $20 million per day. So if you do what you're supposed to and you shut it down, you might just have that one. But if you don't do what you're supposed to, you can have even larger penalty fines. It all determines based on whether something happens that causes damage. One of the biggest questions is whether a kill switch is technically practical. Modern AI systems run across thousands of servers, often distributed globally. If a model weights have already been downloaded or released in open source form, a government shutdown order may not be able to stop independent copies running elsewhere. Critics argue that a kill switch works best for centrally hosted commercial AI servers, but is much harder to enforce against decentralized or open source models. That's a lot to think about, guys. That's an awful lot. So the proposal is also likely to influence AI regulation outside the United States. Europe already has the AI Act, and countries such as United Kingdom, Japan, South Korea, and Canada are all evaluating different approaches to have the governing of advanced AI. If the U.S. adopts mandatory emergency shutdown capabilities for frontier models, other nations may introduce similar requirements, especially among close allies. Politically, the bipartisan sponsorship is important. Representative Ted Lieu, a Democrat from California, and Representative Nathaniel Moran, a Republican from Texas, jointly introduced the bill. AI has become one of the few emerging technology issues, attracting support from both major parties, although there is still disagreement about how much regulatory authority the federal government should have. We get into things like AI safety testing, incident reporting, human oversight, emergency intervention capabilities, government audits, security and resilience standards. Many of these practices could become industry norms even without this exact legislation passing. That's a lot, guys. So the broader takeaway is that Congress is shifting from asking how we can encourage AI innovation to asking how do we safely manage systems that may eventually operate with significant autonomy. That represents a major change in how policymakers view artificial intelligence. Whether the AI Kill Switch Act passes or not, it's likely to influence future AI legislation because it introduces ideas and concepts that lawmakers are increasingly taking very seriously. That's powerful, guys. Very powerful. Have you thought about that before? I mean, AI is not new. I mean, we've had it for a little while, but it's starting to get legs, right? It's starting to gain space, right? So if you're looking for another thing to realize that who owns your AI, when you upload your photos, documents, voice, or code to AI, who really owns that information? Can companies use it to train future models? What rights do users have? AI is now replacing search engines, guys. This is not like just one thing. This is a lot of stuff, right? I mean, when AI came out, it was something that people were curious about. But now that has the potential to harm and hurt people. We talked about how vehicles, we talked a few weeks ago, how the AI driven vehicle got in the way of first responders, got in the way of a real life accident. It got confused because it was smoke. There's no excuse for that, guys. Absolutely no excuse. No excuse. But more people out today are going to ask these questions. So, what is AI about, right? Is AI going to suddenly change the world tomorrow? No, it's not. It's not going to change the world tomorrow. It won't do it tomorrow, but I can tell you this. It will start to morph the world that we're in. It'll change our perspectives. Okay? AI is watching everything you do. Windows recalls smart glasses, AI assistants, browser history. And is convenience worth giving up all that privacy? The internet is filling up with fake people. Unfortunately, guys, there's a great big AI bubble, and it's going to pop, right? Companies are spending hundreds of billions. What if AI doesn't produce the profits investors expect? Then we got America versus China. Who wins the AI race? It's not just AI, it's chips, it's robotics, it's quantum technology, it's manufacturing, it's military technology. AI is learning to hack, write malware, clone voices, find vulnerabilities, create phishing emails. Can AI stop AI? Sure. It's just another process. If AI teaches better than professors, that's going to be a problem. Your next boss could be AI. Some companies out there don't realize that, but it could very well happen. The first $1 trillion AI company. Who gets there first? OpenAI, NVIDIA, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Meta, or someone I haven't mentioned. Your next boss might be an AI module. Pretty crazy if you ask me. We already have AI managers at Amazon. Yep. We have AI bosses and managers at Amazon. And you can't really sit down and reason with an AI boss. Unfortunately, guys, you just really can't. So Amazon has increasingly used AI and algorithms to assign work, measure productivity, optimize warehouse routes, set performance targets, recommend scheduling, flag performance issues, help determine promotions or disciplinary actions with varying levels of human oversight depending on the process and location. That means for many employees, software already performs some functions that were traditionally handled by human supervisors. The question that I have is, are these systems setting expectations that are unrealistic? I think they are. And that could cause a very, very big problem, guys. A problem that we've been seeing with Amazon and other companies. They hire you for X dollars an hour, okay? And then you get fired within a week or two because there's no way to have that kind of output. People are getting hurt there, right? These are sad things, guys. So I think we have to make sure that AI stays in its lane. It does what it needs to do. Because if it doesn't, guys, we're going to have lots of challenges, lots of problems. AI is not about making a split-second decision. I think that's an important thing that many people like don't understand. I think if we realize AI is a technology, it's not good, it's not bad. It's how people implement and use it that actually makes it so. That's powerful, guys. As I get ready to wrap up today's show, technology continues now changing at an incredible pace. And staying informed has never been more important than ever before. Whether the topic is AI, artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, robotics, privacy, or global innovation, today's headlines often become tomorrow's reality. So I don't say that to scare you. I say that so that you're aware of the headline, so that you're aware of what's going on. I think that's probably the most important thing that I can actually tell you. Okay. We have to be aware of our surroundings. We have to be aware of our technology. We have to be aware of the people we're deploying to do things like this. Okay. I thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining me for another episode of the JMOR Tech Talk Show. I am John C. Morley, and until next time, stay informed, stay curious, and never stop learning. And if we truly live our lives with a concept of being curious and being open to possibilities and being humble, our life can really, really change. But we've got to want to do that. We've got to want to do that. AI is a marker out there, right? It's one of the tools. There's lots of tools out there. But are people deploying AI properly, or are they just using it as a money grub? A lot of people are using it as a money grub, but they're using it wrong. Yeah, they're using it wrong. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your day or evening, and I hope you have a great rest of your weekend. I will be back next week, July 7th. It will be in July. Have a great rest of your day or evening, and be sure to check out BelieveMeAchieve.com for more of my amazing, of course, inspiring creations. Be well, everyone.